Our everyday paper is not out of control, and that is so crazy for me to say for a few reasons. One, I remember when I heard someone else say that and I was just like, what? How? Like, I didn't even know it could be a thing where paper is not overtaking you, especially for like normal people or someone who's not super organized and on top of things all the time. But it's like that now and I love it. And so one of the other reasons that it's weird for me is because I love paper. I love notebooks and journals and writing and reading. And I love like making to-do lists. And so I'm going to show you that really quick. Before I go further with showing you my little to-do list, I wanted to let you know that this video is about everyday paper clutter and not sentimental clutter. So we're not talking about old letters and journals and things that can never be replaced. We're not talking about photos. I actually have a lot to say about sentimental items, I've realized, whereas I don't have as much to say about paper clutter, like everyday stuff, because I don't believe there should be that much of it. Like, there's no need to hold on to a lot of the daily stuff that's coming in. It's just meant to come in, notify us of something, and we either deal with it or decide that it's something we don't need or want, and then we let it go. But I wanted to clarify that and let you know I have several videos coming up about sentimental clutter and sentimental paper clutter in particular. So be on the lookout for those. I loved it since I started making tiny to-do lists, and I just clip small papers to this, and you can only add so much to your to-do list when it's small. I mean, I can fit a lot even on that small of a paper, but it still helps. And then I throw my to-do lists away because I finish them, or I'm like, okay, there's only one thing left for me to do on here. Let me just put it on my next to-do list. And I have a paper calendar hanging up, but like that stuff doesn't bother me as clutter. It's always the piles of like junk mail or things I don't know what they are. And so once you go through those papers, those piles that are annoying you, and you get them under control, it is so much easier to maintain it. And seriously, some of the biggest things that have helped me are to go ahead and go through the mail and recycle most of it. Realize, this is one thing I kind of hate about mail, is it will get sent to you like it is the most important thing in the world. It will say on there, on the envelope, important, and you open it and it is junk mail. And so I have just realized most of my mail is going to be going in the recycling, and I'll go ahead and put it there. And for the other things, it's just like we take care of it so fast. I will put it on the table for my husband that night, but because it's only like one or two things, and we've stopped getting so much mail anyway because we've also gone paperless with a lot of stuff, which I highly recommend as well. So it isn't that much even for him, like when he's coming home from work. And yes, it may sit there for a day or two, and then I'll ask him about it, and I'll just say like, can this be recycled? And most of the time he's like, yes. And so it's really quick to deal with stuff like that. And even magazines, I love magazines, but I just read them and then I pass them on to someone else. So I do have a few that I keep in my home, but I'm like, oh, they're pretty. I don't consider them cluttered. It's not stacks and stacks and years worth. I don't know. I kind of can't believe it. But also I know a lot of people have kids and I don't, but that's not an excuse because there are lots of people who have kids also, and they do the same thing. So I'm not really going to talk about that because I can't speak from personal experience, but I know there are some other good videos out there about it, and so I can try to link to one of those. But I have seen where you put their art in this picture frame that's really thick, but it can still be hanging on the wall, and you just add to it until it gets full, and then you can go through, keep the favorites, and get rid of the rest. That way you're not just like oh, look at this art, and putting it straight in the trash. One of the people that I helped declutter, she had one of those, so I got to see it in person. That was really neat and fun to see. This is part of my Clutter Free by Christmas challenge. So if you haven't watched those videos, I will link to those in the description so you can check them out and catch up. So stacks of mail also are stressful because you don't know what's in them. And so once you separate what's really important and urgent and what's just garbage, then it's a lot easier. And even if there is still a pile of things this big that is really important or urgent, one, you have access to it now and you know where it is and what it is. And two, that is so much more manageable than just an entire stack of papers that are random or, you know, sentimental plus junk mail. Oh, maybe I'm going to use this. Or wouldn't this be nice if I could sign up for this thing or donate to this or whatever, or sit and read this article. But I just think it's helpful just to know that it's a possibility, that it's not crazy, but like you don't have to have these piles and piles all the time everywhere. That was one of the biggest things that helped me, is just knowing that it doesn't have to be that way. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I would like to change that. So, and even now, like just a little bit of paper on the counter, on the table, really stresses me out. It's just like, I just notice it so fast and I'm like, what's this? So it's kind of funny, probably kind of annoying for my husband, but he doesn't really act like it. I think he appreciates not having the clutter build up either. So that's why he tolerates my like being on top of that. And I try not to be like that with everything. And then I do have paper stuff in here. So this hides it to where it looks a lot better and less junky. So that's more how I handle my paper clutter. Oh my goodness, can't even see. So like this is reminders to resubscribe to certain magazines. And then I have some uglier notebooks and folders and magazines and stuff. And I should go through it sometimes more, but I don't. And since it's tucked away, that is okay with me. And sometimes I'll go through it or just grab what I need. And then this is more like books and stuff. So I don't really consider that paper clutter. This was hiding behind a backpack, some checks, and then some stationery stuff. And there's more stationery, like empty blank stationery stuff in here. A few drawers. Some of that's other stuff too. More notebooks and journals. When you see this, you might be like, oh, she has a paper problem. But this is in our guest room. I hardly ever see it. And actually when I do, I kind of love it. Like, look at all the fun little plants and scenes that I've painted. Oh, so this sparks joy. It does not stress me out. Now, if it were out in the rest of our home, it might stress me out because I'd be worried about it getting messed up. But, and this part, like my scraps, that is like considered more clutter to me, but I do keep it to use occasionally to test things out, but I try to keep it behind some other stuff so it's not as visual. Again, like there's just no end, but this is more fun. So this would be more like clutter, like I should move it around or something. So this is actually the kind of clutter that bothers me, but I'm pretty sure this is all that we have, at least sitting out. Other stuff is all put away and taken care of. So I love that. So all I'm doing now is putting it in the recycling. Okay, actually one more thing why I like this is because then my to-do list is like sitting up and it looks more intentional. It's like a little frame almost. If you could have something like that and I just clip it on, that is so much better than just a stray piece of paper laying around, even though I know it doesn't seem like it's that big of a difference. But like just flat versus vertical. But I also see it more and I know that it's not something else. I know it's my to-do list. So hopefully that helps you as well. I'm trying this new thing at the end of my videos where I have you help me name my paintings. So you could see in this video that I love painting. I feel like I'm the queen of hobbies. And so, if you are someone like that, I know you understand that hobbies can come with a lot of clutter. And so, I should probably do more videos about that too. But currently, I am doing watercolor paintings. And so, I'm going to tell you a couple of them that I've already named and kind of how I like to name my paintings. This is something I've recently started as well, is naming my own paintings. And so this one is called Surrounded. And I chose that because there are places here in Southern California where you go and you're just in the middle of these desert mountains and you can just turn all the way around every direction you look and there are just these beautiful mountains and it's so peaceful and I love it. So the next one is called Soaring because I did put a few birds in there, but the mountains, I just love, like, the mountains are soaring, but also the birds are soaring above things. I love thinking of myself soaring above things and difficulties and just annoyances in the world and keeping that perspective from up above that things are not as bad as they seem right in the thick of things. So that's kind of how I like to name my photos to give them a little deeper meaning instead of just saying like the name of the mountain or just where it was painted. But I know a lot of you are creative as well. So here's the one I want to have you help me name, and we'll see how it goes. So I this hanging plant. So I didn't want to just say that or house plant. I almost want to say like house friend or something, like how you feel about house plants. Maybe something like that, or some benefit you get from having house plants and that kind of thing. So let me know if you have ideas. Please leave them in the comment. We'll see, and I will have to update you on what I do end up naming this one. But thank you again for watching and sticking around to my little just self-indulgent ending.